Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. This is going to be a fun episode with my friend Brendan Burns of Bozeman, Montana. According to the KUIU founder Jason Harrison, Brendan was employee number 1 at KUIU, and I heard Jason often refer to Brendan as his right-hand man at KUIU. I have hunted alongside both Jason and Brendan on multiple occasions and got to see the tight bond that the two had. As co-CEO of KUIU, Brendan and the incredible team that Jason built at KUIU are fully focused on the mission to carry out Jason's legacy of relentless innovation. Their focus has always been to build the best ultralight hunting gear on the market today, following the motto that innovation never rests. Aside from being KUIU's co-CEO, Brendan is widely respected as one of the leading authorities on sheep hunting in North America. He has personally taken 9 North American rams, including his Grand Slam, and is halfway to his second with a bow. Brendan is also one of the most successful archery elk hunters in the West. His top 12 self-guided archery bulls officially average over 379 inches. The guy is flat out a killer. He is a wealth of knowledge on all subjects mountain hunting, and I'm happy to have him on the podcast to do a question and answer session. We plan on doing several of these over the next couple of months. With that, I'd like to welcome Brendan to the show and dive into the questions from loyal KUIU customers.
I got Brendan Burns, the co-CEO of KUIU.com on the line. Brendan, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Jay. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, Brendan, we've received a lot of questions from the KUIU customers, and today we're going to sit here and try and go through a bunch of these questions and try and get them answered. We're also going to be consistently doing these KUIU Q&A sessions over the coming months, so let's dive into some of these questions.
Yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to it, so yeah, hit me.
First question, kids' pants in solid colors.
We don't have kids' pants in solid colors in the works right now, but, you know, again, when it comes to colors and solids and stuff, that stuff's always changing. So not right now, but you never say never.
Yeah, and I did notice, Brendan, I just got a thing in the last day or two with the new kids line. It looks like a Rubicon hooded jacket, a Sierra pant, a Youth Enduro long sleeve shirt, Youth Peloton 240 beanie. So definitely a nice addition there to see KUIU coming out with some youth stuff.
Yeah, it's been really good, and we just wanted to put together. It's obviously just the start of a system for them, and yeah, my son has used it a lot. It's pretty darn good, so we're real happy to introduce that.
Awesome. Okay, anything brewing for the 2019 season?
Yeah, that's kind of a loaded question. So we got a lot. We got a lot from the product standpoint. We got a lot from I got a lot from hunting standpoint. I got yeah. I mean, I guess more specific would be a little. We got a lot going on this year for sure.
Yeah. Specifically with hunts that you have coming up, you know, what hunts do you personally have coming up that you're looking forward to?
I have a pretty busy summer coming up. I'm grizzly hunting with Lance this spring up in Alaska. That's an archery grizzly hunt, and then I'll be hunting doll sheep with my bow at Camo, which is in the NWT with Glenda Grote, and then really looking forward to a trip. It's been booked for a long time hunting doll sheep at Ultimate Thule on the ice on the Bernard Glacier this summer. So that one I've been thinking about that one for a long time and really looking forward to getting back on the ice. Yeah, so it's a big summer plan, and then obviously elk here in Montana, and anything else I could fit in.
Is elk pretty much just a staple, you know, for you? As much as you love elk, do you try and hunt elk in your home state every single year?
Yeah, I don't plan anything in September in Montana. That's always been my thing. I love hunting elk in Montana. I love, you know, finding a great big bull and see if I can get him killed. It's the one month I don't have anything else. I kind of swing for the fence everywhere else. You know, Montana's so good right now that I have a hard time going anywhere else unless it's a really premium tag, which I have not had a ton of success drawing. I think I've got pretty much 15 points everywhere, and so yeah, I just kind of leave September blank. And some years it happens early, some years it happens late, but I give myself the full month of September and even into October if I need it.
Okay, here's another question. I need a truly waterproof glove. Is Expedition glove the way to go?
We have 3 totally waterproof gloves that have OutDry, or what is now called H-Dry. It's the technology was purchased and transferred over. But the Yukon Pro, the Expedition, and the North Star are all 100% waterproof. That's what I'm getting when he's asking. And it really depends on the gauntlet that you like. The Yukon Pro is a little lighter. The Expedition has a cuff on it that you tuck in under your jacket, and then the North Star has a gauntlet that goes over your jacket. So a lot of it depends on what your system you're running on the outside is, but all 3 of those would fall into truly waterproof.
Brendan, you personally, are you more of a guy to have the glove on the inside of the jacket as a rule, or do you typically like having that cuff over the jacket? Just, obviously it probably changes with what you're doing, but like general rule of thumb, what's your preference?
I generally run it over unless it's a thin glove and then it'd be under, but on the bigger gloves, I like a big gauntlet. But I don't hunt a lot. I guess kind of in the later season we need an insulated glove. I don't use them a lot in the really pounding rain. And if you asked, some of the guys at the office down there, they would probably say the opposite because they're, a lot of times they're in really cold duck hunting and they want to have that sealed tight around the cuff at the wrist with the rain gear over the top. Like most of the time when I'm using it's colder weather later and snow, and so it's not really running down. So that's why we offer both options.
Okay, next question. Boot breakdown, especially for stiffness. Which boot for western mountain hunting? I assume that's lower 48, the way he's saying that, but you can take it however you will.
Yeah, I mean we have 2 basically what you'd call western mountain hunting boots. I mean our evolution is really just kind of your all around. It's a really nice synthetic all around hiking boot. Fairly easy to break in. I use it a little bit, not as much. I've found I was really integral in designing of the Rebel K, so it fits me perfectly, and I love a really stiff boot. And I always tell guys, I don't think you break. The people are always worried about break-in on a fairly stiff boot. I find my feet don't get exhausted or that don't get nearly as tired the stiffer the boot I'm wearing is. It takes a little while to get used to hiking in a really stiff boot, and especially to be quiet in a stiff boot, but I always look at it like you almost break your feet and your walking style into a stiff boot, and when you need it, when you're really climbing or really descending, I find it hard to go back to a softer boot like what I spent 15 years wearing. I can barely wear those in the mountains. I just make my feet exhausted. And one thing about both those boots is they have the Scarpa sock fit, and if you haven't tried sock fit, whether it's our boot or just another Scarpa that has a different design that you like, whatever, it basically eliminates the tongue, and I literally could not go back to a boot with a tongue. So,
one of the things that I was so impressed with those boots in the NWT was how quickly they dried. I mean, a lot of times, the boots from walking in wet grass and what have you, you would reach a saturation point where they should be wet, and basically overnight, sitting outside in the vestibule, next morning they'd be dry. I think that's one thing, I'm kind of branching off here, but a synthetic boot over like a full grain leather boot, you're going to dry much, much quicker.
Yeah, the dry time is incredible, and it just doesn't absorb water. The other thing you'll notice on a synthetic boot like the Rebel K is that it doesn't change sizes. I mean, if you wear a traditional leather boot, once it becomes saturated, I mean, you'll always see your eyelets start getting to where they're basically touching, and that's the stretch in the boot from leather. Now, leather has some places where it's superior to a synthetic, which I would call like in the desert, super cactus-y, type environments where there's a reason to have a leather boot. But in the mountains, for me anymore, a synthetic boot, because it's quick drying, and then it just doesn't change shape. I find that I slide into my boot, it fits my foot the same every time. So, really, really happy with that in the mountains.
Brendan, one thing on those boots, I have heard, and I had it happen with me, and I'm curious your take on it. They run, in my opinion, like a half a size smaller. Have you had that same thing, or have you heard that, or was that just an isolated case with my boots?
I found that the Rebel K, I think, runs. I run a half size larger, and maybe it's just because of the way it's built. I run a 44 Euro, which is a 10.5, and normally I wear a 10 now. In our Evolution, I'm a straight size 10, so it's good to try them on.
Yeah. Okay. Next question: are the Montana Unlimited units, sheep units, worth attempting?
Well, if you're looking to talk yourself out of going sheep hunting, I'm probably the wrong guy to consult. Yeah, it's definitely worth doing. It's not going to be easy. It takes a plan. It takes some serious planning, some serious motivation, and it will not be easy. But the Unlimited area is one of those things where it's you have a sheep tag in your pocket. When you look at the point creep and you look at the odds that are on a tag, like in Montana, even as a resident now, we're pushing 1 in 300 odds. If you're not going to get lucky, it might be one of the only ways if you put a game plan together and stick to it that you can harvest a Rocky Mountain Bighorn in the West. I mean, these opportunities are getting fewer and further between, and probably it doesn't look like it's going to get better. So yeah, it's always worth doing. It takes a real plan. I mean, you don't want to go in there unprepared, and set a goal to kill an old ram, and they're in there. People get them every year, and it's a great hunt. It's a real feather in your cap if you get it done. I mean, that's a legit sheep hunt.
Is that one of those things that, the odds of success from the amount of people that buy tags and go? I mean, do they have a record of, is it a 2 or 3%? Is it a 10%? Is it, 0.5%? What's your thoughts on the percentage of success?
I know the percentage of success based on the tags versus kills, but I don't think that really tells the story. I don't know what the true percentage of success. I mean, if you look at hunters that actually went in there, put a plan together, and hunted for a full 10 days every year, or guys that really stuck with it, I think the guys that go the hardest and put the best plan together and stick to it and glass the hardest tend to be the most successul. So I don't know that there's a stat on. There's a lot of people buy the tag, get into the country, take one look around, and go, man, this ain't for me. But I think the guys that put a plan together and really get after it, they, like anything, they tend to be more successful.
What KUIU gear for the Northwest Territories late August rifle doll sheep hunt?
I have a full gear list available, and I guess Jay and I will figure out where we can put that. It's going to be up on the site here pretty quick. We'll have a gear list on KUIU.com under one of our gear lists. Right now there's the elk one. There's a couple other ones on there. And I could roll through it. Basically how I break my gear list down, and I'm going to say when was it, late August, you say?
Late August rifle doll sheep hunt.
Yeah, late August NWT can run into a little more weather, so I would lean towards the warmer side of you can get snow that time of year, and I break it down to, top, bottom, what I carry in my pack, optics, gear, and then, personal stuff, and then weapon. And I have a full gear list built, but you want me to just run through it real quick, or? Yeah,
why don't you run through it?
Okay. So on top, I'm going to make some assumptions that it's, for example, it's a backpack hunt. Let's just call it that. So if it's a backpack hunt, on top, I'm going to take a Chugach rain jacket. Later in the season, I generally probably would take a kenai hooded jacket, kenai ultra hooded jacket, 240 peloton hoodie. I would take 2 Merino 125 short sleeve shirts, maybe a short sleeve and a long sleeve, guide glove, a peloton 200 glove, a peloton 240 beanie, a cap, a neck gaiter, and then on bottom I have Chugach rain pants, the attack pant or the pro pant on a hunt like that, 97 peloton full zip long underwear, 2 pairs of thin socks, 2 pairs of merino liner socks, gaiters, scarf or Rebel K would be on the bottom end. In my pack, again, assuming that's a backpack hunt, I would take an Icon Pro 7200. Let's just call it a 10-day hunt. Depending on your weapon, your bow holder, rifle holder, glassing pad, large pack cover. I'd probably take a 0-degree bag on that hunt in late August. Obviously, you could see some snow. a Neo-Air sleeping pad, 3-liter water bladder, Havalon headlamp, long spoon for eating Mountain House, 1-liter water bottle for scooping out of the creek. I take 7 roll-top dry bags, 2 small, 2 medium, 2 large, and basically everything in my pack is in a dry bag. Really, my pack rain cover, if you get a lot of cover, is really just for keeping your pack dry outside the tent. I like to leave my pack outside the tent, not on top of me at night. A small boned-out meat bag, a medium boned-out meat bag, and trekking poles, and then either Storm Star or Mountain Star 10. A lot of that would depend on watching the weather ahead of time. If you're expecting a lot of snow, I take a 4-season like a Storm Star. If it looks like it's going to be pretty nice, and then you take a 3-season tent. But I always kind of make that call at the end. Your bino system, binos, rangefinder holder. On a hunt like that, I'm running 10x42 binos. A rangefinder, depending on its archery rifle. I always carry a 95 swirl scope. I like to carry big glass, tripod, regular camera, film scope, all that kind of stuff. That pretty much rounds it out until you get to the personal stuff, which first aid kit, toothbrush, chapstick, vitamins, pain reliever, lighter, earplugs, cord. I usually take a pair of sunglasses, and then on a hunt like that, I'm generally taking about 3,500 calories a day. I give myself 2 pounds a day, 3,500 calories. So that's a quick rundown of my late August gear list that I would take on that hunt.
Okay. We've got a rundown on what I should bring on a September moose hunt. Temperatures range from 30 to 70. He doesn't say where the moose hunt is, but gives a temperature range of 30 to 70. Is that also a list that potentially would be on the KUIU.com
Yeah,
website?
that's very similar. It depends on where he's talking moose on. Are you talking, southern British Columbia or the Brooks Range in Alaska? I'll make some assumptions there. And on that kind of a deal, you're obviously not going to be backpacking as far. If you are, you're way tougher than I've killed 6 moose on my own up in Alaska. And if you're backpacking hunting for moose, you're tougher than I am.
You're asking for it. Yeah.
Absolutely insanely huge. So I'm assuming you're going to be staying closer to like a main base camp. So then I tend towards the warmer, that's similar to what the gear list we just went over. I tend towards the warmer piece of that, because you're going to be sitting around mostly when you're moose hunting. I mean, you're waiting for them to call and move. It can be pretty boring, and there's a limit to how far you can walk to kill a moose. And I don't know if you're hunting out of a boat or what. I'd need some more information, but I'd lean towards the colder temperature type range in all of our stuff.
Okay. Which pack do you recommend for elk hunting?
It depends on the type of hunt. Now, if it's a full backpack hunt, and depending on the number of days you go, like I've used a 5200 quite a bit lately. Especially if it's warmer weather and I don't have to carry as much stuff. Obviously, a lot of your pack size is going to depend on the food and then how far you are packing stuff out. Most of the elk that I hunt in Montana, I'm not very far. Like, I'll get a long ways and I'll get pretty dry because I'm pushing it, but it's pretty warm, and I generally am not camping out that often. I mean, a lot of the areas I'm hunting, it really just doesn't pay to be out there. And when elk get to bedding areas, I pretty much back out and either go back to my truck or go hang out all day. So I run the 3200 or an 1800 most of the time. If I'm packing a spotting scope, like when I'm trying to find a bull, I generally take the 3200 Icon Pro. I really like that pack. It's about as small as I can get everything down while carrying a spotting scope tripod and having it pretty accessible, so I can get video or photos of a bull if I'm looking for them. And then when I'm actually hunting elk, I mean, a lot of times I'll take an 1800 with no waist belt, and as minimal as I can get, or sometimes not even that. If I know I'm going to be into them, I'll take off with very little. So it really depends on the type of hunt. I mean, a full backpack hunt, if you're going 10 days into the, in the wilderness area, obviously you're going to run basically a similar system to sheep hunting all the way down to, quick strike day hunts. I guess it just depends on what you're doing. That's one of the beauties of our pack system is the modularity. I mean, I take the exact same frame and I've got an 1800 on it, and if I need it it's already fitted to me, and I put my 7200 on it or my 5200 on it, or 32, or if I want to go minimalist, throw in one of the ultra bags. That's the beauty of our modular pack system.
I mean, that's kind of why you and Jason design. I mean, that's why you made it like that, correct?
Yeah. You have one. I mean, no one needs one pack for a whole year. I mean, you're always, that's why you have excess pack, or you're sucking it in tight, but in reality, I mean, you need a lot of different packs for a lot of different situations. If you're, the colder the weather, closer to town, to all the way to the big backpack trips that you're doing. So yeah, that's the modularity is one of the big advantages to our pack system.
Okay, here's another one. What pants, jacket, and rain gear for late September mountain goat hunt in Chugach National Forest? Brendan, would you even wear pants, or would you go straight with the Yukon rain pants?
I probably, it depends. I've hunted the Chugach late September mountain goat, and that's another tough guy. Yeah, it just depends on the amount of devil club. It depends on, like, if it's a full backpack hunt, you're carrying everything, I generally would wear Chugach stuff, and yeah, I'd wear our full zip long underwear and just wear my straight rain pants, because if it's not raining, the vegetation is raining. Basically, like, it's always wet. It never dries out. I mean, it'd be weird if it was dried out. So, or the Yukon pant, just straight Yukon pant with a full zip long underwear underneath. And again, if you're worried about durability, that's why we build the Yukon. It's just for busting more brush. It's twice. It's same exact waterproof as the Chugach, only twice as heavy, twice as durable. So it depends on the durability you're looking for. But it sounds like I'd lean towards the Yukon.
Another question. How long does KUIU work on one piece of gear before releasing it to the public?
As long as it takes. I mean, we have products that come from ideas that come together right away, and sometimes it's just a change out of a fabric or a small fix, and sometimes it's full development from concept. And I'm working on a couple things right now that we were fairly close a year ago, and we're still not to the point where it's ready to. There's just some fine tweaks. So the short would be that we don't put it out until it's ready. We're not really. That's one of the beauties of our business model is we can release a product whenever we want. We don't have to wait for selling season or we got to have it done by this time or retail fulfillment or anything like that. We build it, we'll design it, we'll work on it until it's perfect, and when it's ready to go, we put it out. So I mean, the short of that answer is as long as we need to make sure it's what we want it to be.
Recommendations for Northwest Territories mid-August layers, tent, bag, temperature, rain gear, patterns. I'm sorry, Brendan. Layers, tent, bag, temperatures, rain gear, patterns, etc. I think we kind of covered that on that one question where you were talking about mid-August. Anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, I always just watch the weather. If it's been unseasonably warm and you look at the 12-day forecast and it looks like it's going to be a scorcher, then you can kind of make some adjustments. I never bank on it being hot, but you can kind of lean towards leaving a few things out. And if it looks like it's going to pound rain for 10 days and you're not going to see the sky, then you want to, pack accordingly. Maybe take an extra base layer or two to dry out. Or upgrading your sleeping bag to 0 degree. And a lot of it depends on how you run personally. Like some guys sleep super hot. I mean, I've had guys that they think a 32 is way too hot for them, and I generally take a 15 everywhere because when I get cold, I stay cold. So I try not to get cold. So I that's a place where I don't, I'll pack a little bit extra just because the warmer I am, the better I sleep.
KUIU hiring.
We are always looking for great people. If you're interested in a career or working at KUIU, service@KUIU.com is where you check into that. I don't know, exactly what we'd be hiring. We're always looking for great people in customer service, and it just depends on what we're looking for at the time. But we're always looking for great people. It's one of the foundations of the brand is, we got an incredible team there, and we're always looking to add in awesome people and that believe in the brand and believe in the mission and love being a part of it. So yeah, I'm not nothing off the top of my head, but always looking.
Okay. Alaska, September, goat hunt, layering system, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the same as the moose hunt or the same as the sheep hunt that we went through, only just heavy on. I would upgrade in that type of a situation to a Super Down Pro. And you know what? Thinking back, I think I skipped one thing on that gear list. So I always have my Super Down, whether Super Down Ultra or Super Down Pro, jacket, pant, and gloves in my pack. That's one thing I don't go anywhere without, whether it's July or December. And I think I left that off on the original question. But I lean towards, in this kind of a, you're in late September, I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit colder, Alaska. Yeah, I mean, I'd lean towards a Super Down Pro jacket and pant and your glassing mitts. And you just want the stuff that, I always think worst possible scenario, like, look at what's happened in the last 10 years and what's the worst weather you could see. You definitely want to be prepared for that, especially if it's an unsupported hunt. Now, if you're in a base camp or somewhere, then you can kind of fine-tune your system. But if you're getting dropped off, if they're dumping you off in a Super Cub with your guide or on your own, you don't want to be on the edge. You'd rather be comfortable.
Brendan, in that situation, Alaska, September, goat hunt, would you tend to lean more towards Merino or more towards Peloton?
I'm kind of a mix. I prefer a Merino base layer next to skin on almost everything I hunt. And it kind of depends on whether hot or cold, it depends. But I generally run one or the other. Sometimes I'll run a Peloton 97, or our new 118 with a Merino, whether it's a 210 outer. I like both because they, how they interact together. Or a lot of, like on a sheep on our backpack, because of the antimicrobial, because of, it doesn't tend to stink as much, especially after 10 days. I run a 125 super thin Merino next to skin, and then either a 97 or a 240 next layer. So just depends. The synthetics tend to be slightly more water resistant as a true outer piece, especially if you're getting, in between times when you get your jacket on or you're just getting a little bit of misting or whatever. So that's one of those things where I always tell people, like, get some Merino next to skin, try synthetic. You kind of, we all tend to run a little bit differently and what we like. I mean, some people just don't like Merino. For me, it doesn't. I love Merino next to skin. So.
Okay. At what temp should I need to swap Ultra Down for the Super Down Pro?
That really depends on your, personally how cold or hot you run. I generally, it depends on the hunt, but I would say about 35. I mean, and again, I'm just throwing a random number out there, but like when it's real cold, and I don't look at that choice more as, I look at it more on what's your activity level. If I know I'm going to be heavy glassing, I'm not going to be hiking much, I'm just going to be glassing, we're going to be looking, we're really trying to pick some country apart, I lean towards the Super Down Pro, because I mean, you sit around all day at 40 degrees, 50 degrees, you can get chilled down. So I just I base it on kind of my activity level and the temperature.
Will the Kenai Ultra jacket hold up against the Arizona desert brush?
The Kenai is actually is incredibly durable for an insulation piece. So that's our.
I agree with that.
It's probably our most unique piece. One of our most unique pieces that we make. It's quiet. It's breathable. It's active insulation, meaning you can hike in it and it's going to breathe while keeping you more warm. And the cool thing about that is the 3D Effects insulation, which it's connected end-to-end insulation basically to break it down. And so it allows us to build that piece with an uncoated fabric, which has a lot more stretch. And I've found it to be incredibly durable in downfall and heavy brush. Again, you have to be careful with anything in cat's claw, but I've had the original Kenai Ultra prototype that I've been running for, I think I've got 3 years on it now. This one I've never had a reason to get a new one, so it's pretty durable.
Yeah, and I might add to that that Kenai Ultra, you guys made that for, active insulation. It's for when it's cold and you need to be hiking. But I might also add that, like, I wear it down in Mexico and what have you. Even when it's cold, very rarely am I hiking in my full insulation. Whether if it's a Kenai Ultra, typically I'm gonna, because I get moving and I get warm. So, I mean, Brendan, are you hiking that much in the Kenai Ultra, or typically would that be something you add very quickly if you were to stop and do any glassing at all? But I mean, in where he's talking about Arizona brush, so I'm kind of looking at it from an Arizonan myself, saying, it's pretty rare that you're going to be doing a ton of hiking through brush with the Kenai Ultra. In my opinion, you'd probably be stripped down even one more layer. I'm just curious if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, when I wear it as an outer piece when I'm hiking is when it's really, really cold. Like
really cold. Yeah,
that or the Axis are really designed for that, like breathable, but take the edge off on the outside. I mean, it's like there's times when it's so cold where you don't want to be stripped down to your base layers. It's too cold for that. So that's kind of when I use that the most as my complete outer layer. And I found it to be crazy durable. I mean, I went some horrible downfall. This fall I went and helped pack a guy out and was like, I don't know, it was 10 below, running it under trees. We went in and packed him out on horseback, and I don't think I have a rip in the thing. So I mean, obviously you can rip it, but it's pretty durable. I've got to call that piece about as durable as it gets.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite pieces in the line. Will KUIU sell the ice axe again?
That's an interesting one. Every time we have a collab with somebody on the ice axe, they've discontinued it. We're looking into some options. Those ice axes with the extended trekking pole have been discontinued apparently in Europe because of liability, like insurance liability. I assume somebody probably tried to save themselves with it and it didn't work and they got sued or something. So we're looking into some other options. But yeah, it's been between the Petzl Snowscopic and the Subai and they've been discontinued. So we're working on it. Obviously, something we love carrying.
If you had one jacket and one pant to choose from on all your hunts, what would it be? That's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, I'd break it down this way. If it was 3 different times a year, if you were putting me on the spot, early season, I'd say Tiburon and 240 Peloton if I had to have one, and mid-season I'd say Attack and Kenai, and late season I'd probably say like Axis and Super Down Pro, but I really think you should have them all, and I do.
Yeah. Where does KUIU see itself in 5 years, and will reaching that vision be by new, big innovation, or more along the lines of product refinement?
Great question. It will be both. We're going to continue to push innovations on all levels. I mean, there are some big leaps to be made, and then on the other hand, refining every product we make. There's always improvements that we can come up with. We're continuing to push innovation in every category. I see us filling out some of our temperature ranges. Ultimately, the goal is we make something that will keep you warm, dry, and comfortable from 130 degrees to negative 50. So I see that part of the direction we're going. And again, we're going to continue to refine every product. There is still a lot of problems to solve in mountain hunting, and until we solve them all, we're not going to rest.
I mean, that's basically the core principle of KUIU: innovation never rests, right?
That's pretty much it. I mean, again, there's new advancements coming along. I mean, even if you just look at the history of the company, we started with a synthetic jacket. I mean, we were the first ones to have waterproof down, and and that seems mind blowing. In 2011, that seemed like something like, man, I would never take down on a sheep hunt. Now I can't even imagine not taking it. So yeah, there's always new stuff coming along, and we're always pushing our partners and pushing ourselves and in the company to find out what that is, and that is the core of the company.
Don't you think, Brendan, it's easy for companies to have success like KUIU, and then kind of rest on the successes that they've had, and it's easy to kind of get romantic and think that you've made the end-all expertise, but, knowing you guys how I do, that's just not the case at KUIU.
No, we're our worst critic. We're our own worst critics, and we're, there's things that are in the works right now that you won't see for a couple of years that are, total game changer innovation-wise. There's always new products. I mean, when you're talking smart guys and math and chemistry and the stuff that, fabric is really, a lot of this stuff boils down to chemistry and mathematical breakthroughs, and that sounds crazy to say, but it really is true. And so, we're always pushing them to improve. The goal is always reduce weight, improve performance. That's basically what we're trying to do all the time is, if you can make it lighter and you can make it perform better, and then if you can factor in, if there's a way to make it more durable, that's the trifecta. That's where you're always headed. So there's always, a mix there where that is always the goal.
What's the reasoning KUIU only makes pants in a 34 inseam? He goes on to say, I'm not short by any means at 6'1", but I only have a 30 to 32 inseam. I tried the Talus pants, for example, and because they are cut so long, the built-in knee pads did no good because they only came up to the top of my shins.
We have some longer stuff, I believe, in the works, but 34 inseam is pretty much across the board what fits most people. And we've tried to make it pretty versatile. Our 34-inch inseam, if you unhem it, it's actually, you'll notice, if you look at the bottom of our cuff of our pants, they're actually hemmed, they're rolled twice. So for the taller guy, you can unhem the bottom and roll them down, and they'll be 36 inches. And if you're, I would say if you're 6'1" and 30 on the inseam, that's actually on the lower end of inseams, and I probably would just pick a pant that doesn't have a knee pad. Knee pads are probably going to fall a little bit low on them if that's the inseam, but that's why we make nearly every pant is built in another configuration without a knee pad as well. So we're working on that. So
the reality, though, is, Brendan, you guys have to make a product, and you have to sell a product, and you have to make a profit. And if you had to make every custom inseam size for every person out there, it just wouldn't be feasible, right? So you have to pick, and I'm just speaking totally off the cuff here, third party, but you have to kind of pick some middle ground where, average inseam on most people so that your product fits most people, correct? But there's going to be people out there that have body shapes and sizes that just doesn't, they're going to have to do something a little different, correct?
Yeah, that's definitely how it works. And we're trying to get, it's always something that comes up, and when we solve it to where we can deliver exceptional customer service and deliver the length in pants, it's one of those things that no one's really figured out well, and we continue to work on it. I would say, we end up with that. I had a guy actually yesterday wrote me that he's a 32-41. He likes a 41 pant. Well, that's literally the first time that's come up in 10 years. So it's just,
What is he, like 7'9"?
I think he said it was like 6'4", but 32, 41-inch inseam. So
wow,
we're working on it.
Okay. For goat and sheep hunts, do you recommend 2 trekking poles or 1 ice axe?
It really depends on the hunt and the terrain. If you're climbing a lot and it's really steep and you're not moving a ton, like I prefer an ice axe. Obviously, the safety feature of being able to self-arrest, especially on a glacier hunt, you pretty much need an ice axe. Now, it depends on the hunt. If you're talking a sheep hunt where, for example, in the Yukon where you're covering really big distances and they're kind of like really old mountains that aren't super steep, you're just covering a lot of country and you're really staying up high, then I find packing weight and covering distance that the benefits of 2 trekking poles outweigh an ice axe for me on those kind of hunts. But, in glacier kind of country or really steep stuff, I like to take an ice axe. And, ice axe, generally if I know somebody, if I'm hunting with somebody that's carrying an ice axe, I'll take 2 trekking poles because I feel it makes a bigger difference. But it's nice to have an ice axe on a hunt to dig out camps and level stuff. And, so it just depends on the hunt.
Says, please ask the KUIU guys why they aren't making a Tiburon hoodie. We really need that. I know they make a 97 fleece, but here in the Southwest, opening day is often 90-plus degrees. A Tiburon hoodie would be a slam dunk for summer scouting and hot weather hunting.
Yeah, I would say we're working on it. I think we have a better product coming than a Tiburon hoodie, and just keep an eye out. We just came out with a 145 Merino hoodie, I think, last week. That came out. And
I saw that.
Yeah, that's a really good option for that kind of stuff, and we're working on some stuff that's lighter, but it's definitely in the works.
Okay, I have a set of Chugach rain gear. Unfortunately, I tore 3 inches on my pant leg. Will KUIU repair these for me if I'm gladly willing to pay a service fee?
We don't have a way to fix those right now. That's another thing we're working on. But we recommend Rainy Pass Repair. They do a great job, especially if you need something seam taped. If you have a 3-inch rip on the pant leg, I would say 2 5-inch strips of tenacious tape will absolutely knock that out of the park. So you just
and isn't tenacious tape something you kind of always carry with you, Brendan?
Always, yeah. The stuff is incredible. So. Yeah, it's a patch, and especially if you can clean the area and get a long piece on each side to where they're pushing together. That stuff's incredible. You can't get it off if you tried, and it's totally waterproof and fixes pretty much anything. So, but if it's a major issue that needs to be fixed, we recommend Rainy Pass Repair. They do a great job.
Guys, I want to take a second here to thank the sponsors of the podcast. I want to thank GoHunt.com Gear Shop. My friend Cody Nelson of 25 plus years is the optics manager at GoHunt.com Gear Shop, and you can reach him if you have any optical needs at all, whether it be binoculars, spotting scopes, tripods, any glassing techniques, anything you want to talk to Cody about. You can reach him at 702-847-8747. You can also send him directly an email at optics@gohunt.com. He has promised me that he'll take care of the J. Scott Outdoors listeners if you mention me, and he's been doing a great job over the last handful of months, and I get emails and direct messages on Instagram almost daily from customers that have bought optics through Cody at GoHunt. So reach out to him. I also want to thank GoHunt.com Insider. The Insider is the best Western hunting resource out there for draw odds and harvest statistics and strategy articles. Obviously, we're right in the middle of application season, and GoHunt.com Insider is the best resource out there. Make sure to go to GoHunt.com/JScott, and you're automatically going to get a $50 GoHunt Gear Shop gift card. I'd also like to thank KUIU.com, that's KUIU.com, KUIU Ultralight Hunting, for their sponsorship of this podcast. That is the gear that I use on all my hunts. Guys, I want to tell you about a special promotion that Canyon Coolers is doing. There's 2 ways to enter, and they're giving away several prizes. The first place winner is going to win a Canyon Coolers Outfitter 55-quart cooler with a retail value of $229 with an SC Wake C-Deck top and hot hands gear. The second and third place winners will all win a Canyon Coolers tumbler and hot hands products. There's several ways you can enter. One is on social media. You can like or follow at Canyon Coolers, and you can leave a comment or tag a friend. Also, for this promotion, the normal JScott19 promo code usually gets you a 10% discount at Canyon Coolers. It's actually for a week's period of time going to get you a 15% discount. To enter this giveaway, follow the link in the show notes and enter your email address. The winner will be announced on March 21st and will be notified by email. It's open to continental U.S. only. The cooler and other gear have been provided by CanyonCoolers.com, SC Wake, and Hot Hands. I want to thank Canyon Coolers for their sponsorship, and I want to thank you guys for jumping in and trying to win these great prizes. I also want to thank Phonescope.com, and if you use the JScott19 promo code, you're going to get a 10% discount, and OnXMaps.com, if you use the JScott19 promo code, you're going to get a 20% discount. Onyx is what I use on all my hunts to differentiate between private and public land. I like to be able to switch back and forth between aerial and topo. They have a great breadcrumb feature, and it's basically replaced the handheld GPS.
Best glove for rifle hunting in Montana weather.
We got a lot of weather in Montana. I'm gonna assume this one says, I'm gonna assume this one is cold weather, late season. Either my favorite glove is the trigger grommet. Myself, it keeps me the warmest, and I find it the most versatile. Unless it's really, really cold, and the super down glassing grommet is where I go. It depends on if you need the dexterity too. That's where the North Star is. You can basically get a 5-finger version of the trigger grommet. So we make all different variations of that. It just depends on what you prefer. But if he's asking me, my favorite is the trigger grommet. I love that glove.
Yeah, I do too. Best overall KUIU jacket for Arizona hunting, September through December, if you can only afford one.
Yeah, it's kind of a loaded question. I guess depending on what you're doing, that was talking a lot of huge temperature swings and conditions. If you could only afford one. I mean, our best-selling jacket is a guide jacket. So, I mean, I'd probably go with, it's probably as versatile as anything, and kind of like an all-around, soft shell if you want that. It depends if you want an insulation piece or a soft shell or, yeah.
Compare the Rebel K's to the R Evolution Treks.
So the R Evolution is we kind of went over this earlier. It's basically kind of an all-around synthetic boot. Easier to break in, not nearly as aggressive. The R Evolution is a true KUIU boot. We designed it from. We basically took the lightest technical mountaineering boot ever built, which was called the Rebel Tech, and I used that in 2014 and 15, and it just wasn't quite. It wasn't quite durable enough, and it had a cramp-on toe. It had some things that weren't features I would use in hunting, and we started refining on that, and we added some stuff in. We added super fabric. We made it more durable. We changed the polyurethane midsole, or we changed the midsole and the sole on it, and basically made our own boot. That's basically the lightest technical synthetic sheep hunting boot that's going to be durable enough for a sheep hunt. So boots are one of those things I always tell people, like 50% of the equation is your foot. You need to try them on and make sure the best boot on the planet, if it doesn't fit your foot, is a boot that you're not going to like. So part of the deal with the boots is making sure that they fit your foot. I mean, if you're a 5E wide, you're probably not going to like that boot.
Okay. KUIU closed for northern New Mexico late September archery elk hunt.
I believe
there is on the website. I'm looking at it right now.
There's an elk hunt gear list on the website that I put on there, and it's on the website. It's under elk gear list if you go to the KUIU.com on the shopping site. So I have one sitting up there, and that will do it. Again, keeping an eye on the weather, depending on it's super hot year, super cold year, and whether it's a backpack hunt, horseback hunt, day hunt, lodge hunt, depending on what you're doing.
BC sheep hunt, 1st of August, Tiburon or attack pant.
I've taken both. Again, that's when you're going to want to watch the weather. If it looks unseasonably warm, the Tiburon dries out super fast. I've taken out a couple sheep hunts. My last BC sheep hunt, archery hunt, I took the attack pant. I would say I would generally lean towards the attack or the pro being kind of all around the best pant for that hunt. But if it's a really hot year, which it was I believe in 2013, which I wore the Tiburon pant, I really liked it. So again, as long as the rest of your system accounts for the fact that you're wearing a super light pant, which is really nice to hike in and really dries out fast, then kind of either or.
Best shirt pant combo and pattern for Arizona archery antelope.
I'm assuming that's hot. And
Yep.
I think the last 6 or 7 antelope I've killed with my bow, I've been wearing Tiburon pant with a 118 or with a 118 peloton or a 125 long sleeve merino shirt and a ball cap. When it's that hot, that's pretty much all I'm wearing.
And I mean, I'd go with the bias on that just because a little more open terrain. What's your thought on pattern?
Yeah, I guess it would match more. It depends on how green it is or how, what you like better, really. Yeah, I tend to run verde more than anything, but it's just yeah, if it's really tan, dead grass, that would be the base of that. Yeah.
Okay, Rubicon jacket versus guide jacket. Heard the Rubicon is just as good for $60 less. What are your thoughts?
No, the guide jacket has pit zips, allows you to dump heat. It's got a different feature set. It's slightly longer. I would definitely say we would never. I don't. There's a reason that it's $60 less, and that it has some features that some of the more expensive ones have. It's lacking a few of the features. It's just basically a soft shell without pit zips, and if you don't need pit zips, that'd be probably what you want. But if you're hiking, pit zips are pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine not having pit zips. I use them all the time. Okay, Axis hybrid versus guide jacket with durability through cat claw. We got some Arizona boys that got issues with cat claw. I mean, it's nasty stuff. You've seen it some when you come down in Mexico with me, but it's some nasty stuff for sure.
Yeah, I guess I'm not a super expert on cat claw. I've seen plenty of Devil's Club and lots of other stuff, but I'm not a super expert. I'd say that's a toss-up. I mean, the Axis has a little more stretch, and the guide is a slightly tighter weave. They're both very durable. Yeah, cat claw must be nasty. I haven't hunted that. Yeah, I haven't hunted a ton of that.
A question just that I have, the Axis hybrid, I've been wearing the Axis pants and the Axis jacket, and that hybrid system where basically on the tops of your shoulders, on the hood, and on your back, it's waterproof, and then you've got the wind resistant on the other material, but it's a really nice piece. I mean, from my mind, kind of revolutionary, where you can be in rainstorms but still seek the benefit of having a breathable piece. Talk a little bit about that Axis and your use of the Axis and testing it out and your thoughts on that Axis. It's pretty amazing product.
It's really designed as a late season high exertion piece, and I like to tell people, like, basically anywhere you would have snow contact, like if you have falling snow, that's where the membrane is, and that's where it's waterproof. And anywhere you would sit down or kneel down, that's where it's waterproof. So knees, butt, shoulder, hood, top of the arms. So basically, if you're, in a pounding snowstorm, whether it's melting quickly or and you could get wet, the rest of it is designed to be highly breathable, great stretch. It's a really awesome piece. But the hybrid programs that we're coming out with, and there's more of them, are really designed. They're totally unique in hunting. It's all the right fabrics, all the right designs, and all the right places where you actually need it. So some pieces you don't need to be waterproof everywhere. It's more like that. I mean, it's nice to be highly breathable, highly windproof, and have your seat be waterproof or your knees be waterproof. So that piece I look at. Late season, high exertion, very cold. I'm sure you've been skiing in it or whatever. So that's what that's designed for.
Okay, does KUIU have a 4-person lightweight tent for an Alaskan moose hunt coming up?
Not at this time. Yeah, not a 4-person tent at this time.
Okay, Brendan's muskox hunt, did he wear a set of insulated laminate parka and bibs, like an all-in-one set?
I did. It's in the works. We're still working on it. It's one of those things that we've been refining it to make it be all it can be. It's done probably one of the most tested pieces we've ever used. Obviously, I think that was in 2017 was when I did that muskox hunt. So yeah, it's in the works. Really going to be an awesome piece. And yeah, we're just.
Didn't you test it and then you let Justin test it as well?
It's about the most thoroughly tested piece of gear you can imagine when we get done with it, and it's just refining little things and making sure that it's everything we want it to be. Yep.
Okay, youth camo ?
All the youth is available in both Vias and Birdie. If they're asking if it's a specific pattern for youth, no, we do not have a specific pattern for youth or in the works.
I think what it's probably they didn't realize that KUIU has come out with a youth line.
Oh.
So I think it was just youth camo. Like, do you have youth camo? And the answer is absolutely. Within the last few days, there's been a release on KUIU.com that there is youth gear, and I've heard a lot of people really excited about it.
Yeah, it's a really nice system. I've taken my son in it. He's all over the place. We got some nasty conditions. It's a good little system right now, and obviously just the beginning. But yeah, we're really excited about that.
When to use the Peloton 118 zip-off bottoms?
Either in hotter weather when you start cooler in the morning and you just need. I mean, it's obviously our lightest zip-off bottom, our lightest synthetic zip-off bottom. And, in really, really hot weather where it's a little bit chilly in the morning, or when it's really great is to leave on all day as your base layer in really cold weather applications under like a heavier type pant.
When are more Peloton 97 shirts coming out?
Soon. I don't have an exact date, but they're coming. They're coming soon. I'd have to check on that. Getting pretty specific.
Can I throw in that the Peloton 97, the hooded, for fishing, they're unbelievable. So yeah, I'm one of those that are going, yeah, more Peloton 97s and more colors. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, at 5 ounces, that's probably that, and the 240 are my favorite mid layers. I kind of go to on just about everything. That's an awesome piece.
And just to be clear, the Peloton 97, it's the lightest of the mid layer pieces, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we go by the weight of the fabric, and so it's a little bit confusing. I think if we had to do over, we'd have maybe picked a different name for it. But yeah, it's the lightest. So right now in our lineup, it would be 240, 200, 97. So it's the lightest mid layer.
Okay.
Now it can be worn as a base layer next to skin, soft enough to be worn next to skin in really cold conditions. But I consider it a mid layer.
Okay. Will gunmetal olive eventually be a color option on the Storm Star tent like the Mountain Star?
No, it is actually going to be major brown, and it is coming this spring.
Okay.
Yep.
Is the Peloton as odor resistant as the Ultra Merino?
It is treated with max spec, which is antimicrobial and kills bacteria. The Merino, they just perform differently, I would say. Once the synthetic becomes, starts growing bacteria, or once it gets bad, it's hard to get them
to reverse that.
And the Ultra Merino, I tend to take the Ultra Merino on longer hunts just because I really don't notice it, but I'm not sure on some of those longer hunts it's not just because I can't smell myself anymore. I have no idea.
Has KUIU ever considered making a down booty for extended cold glashing sessions?
Yeah, we've definitely considered it, and it's definitely something that is an idea that's being worked on.
Any thoughts on bringing back the kenai pants? Favorite piece of gear by my friends and I.
Second kenai pant one, yeah, that's good feedback. Yeah, it's something we're working on. Yep.
Okay. Are KUIU patterns set, or will they ever consider new patterns?
We're always working on new ideas and new stuff. There's always new stuff in the works. As of right now, I can't say for sure when, where, what, but we're always working on new stuff.
Best all-around glove, ? Best all-around glove, best pack for extended day hunts, best pant for everyday wear. So there's 3 questions there. Best all-around
glove. I guess it would depend on what you're doing, but if you're just trying to keep your hands warm, it's pretty hard to beat the Super Down glassing mitt. I guess I don't know where that question.
Well, let me take a step further. What about just everyday, like archery, elk hunting, just jamming around? Just what do you wear mostly, like the attack glove?
Yeah, the attack glove or the guide glove. It depends on.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it depends on the amount of dexterity you need, the amount of insulation you need. That's why we have a full glove line. Is that, like anything, there is no magic bullet. What works one day may not work the next. What's perfect for one condition is not perfect for the next. So that's why we have, the full lineup. We try and fill in the gaps. We try not to have things that overlap and are the same, and we try and make sure that the gaps are all filled in based on conditions, exertion, temperature, all that.
I also might add, if you go to KUIU.com and you go to the glove section, over on the right-hand side, there's a glove comparison guide. And so you can actually click on that, and it's got good info there, basically trying to distinguish all through the different gloves. So go on there and check out KUIU.com and check out that glove comparison guide. Okay, best pack for extended day hunts. Obviously, how many days, what type of hunts, but you kind of covered some of this.
Yeah, if I'm talking extended day hunt, I'm going to say camping out 2 nights. I'll just say, I'll just call this a scouting trip for myself, looking for bighorns. I would take the Icon Pro 5200, probably without a lid, because I can carry pretty much everything I need. It's very streamlined, and I can carry my big optics, and they're pretty handy, pretty easily accessible. You can get a couple days worth of gear and stuff if you're not carrying big glass in a 3200 Icon Pro. It depends on if you're camping out, if it's early season, if you're just taking a small shelter with you, or if you're just sleeping out, or whether you're taking a big tent. A lot depends on the situation.
Okay, best pant for everyday wear, Brendan. I'll answer from my perspective. I would say almost every single day of the year, I either have the Tiburon shorts or the Tiburon pants. I wear them literally probably 300 and some days a year, either one or the other of those. Obviously, in the summer, I'm in the Tiburon pant every single day. I have, I think, 5 different pairs of the Tiburon short. I have Tiburon shorts on all summer long. That's what I wear fishing. That's what I wear hiking. That's what I wear. I'm curious what you wear, Brennan. Everyday wear.
I remember when we sold out of the Tiburon short, and you bugged me every day. Yeah, I would say I wear the Tiburon pant, the attack pant, and we have a pile of snow here right now, so I've actually been wearing the Axis pant quite a bit around lately because, the other morning, last Sunday when I flew out, it was negative 37, and I had to fire up the snowblower. So, but yeah, I would say the attack pant or the Tiburon pant I'm pretty much in every day.
Okay, will there be another KUIU mobile showroom tour?
Not right now. It's not in the works right now.
Okay, I know that was a huge success, and customers really liked that.
Yep.
Does KUIU have a repair department for their packs?
We don't have a repair department for the packs, but everything is warranty. We stand behind it 100% on construction. And like I said, just take a picture of it and send it into warranty, and we'll figure out a way to get it taken care of. As far as repair, if it's pilot error and got ripped or something, we don't have a repair department right now. But like I said, if it's something that is failure in construction or that was built faulty or whatever, we stand behind everything. Just get a hold of warranty at KUIU.com, and then we'll get it taken care of.
Okay. How are KUIU boots, ? Durability, ? Waterproof, ? Lightweight, ?
We went over a lot of that, but I would say, like the Rebel K is specifically built to be, it's obviously totally waterproof, synthetic, so it doesn't absorb water, it doesn't change sizes. extremely lightweight. I mean, when you consider the amount of steps you take in a 10-mile day in the mountains, and as light as those boots are compared to almost any other boot, the amount of energy you're saving by using those boots is pretty incredible. I guess it just depends on what you want out of a boot. But for me, being super light and drying out quick just makes a synthetic boot far superior. And I've helped design and build tons of different boots, and for me, it's like I don't know that there's a lot of improvement can be made on the Rebel K as far as what I'm looking for, especially on a sheep hunt.
Okay, does the Axis glove replace the Yukon glove and the Peloton 200 gloves? So I'm assuming this person's putting the Peloton 200 on and then putting the Yukon glove over that, but I don't quite get it. But does the Axis glove replace the Yukon and the Peloton 200?
No, I mean, the Axis glove is different. It's a late season high exertion glove. It does not have leather on the palm, so if you don't need a leather working surface, it's a great glove to pick. It's got really high dexterity. It's very wind resistant, and it falls within the Axis system. It was built to go with that system.
Okay. Gear list for horseback Yukon Dall sheep hunt. We can bring a little extra weight. So I'm assuming he's wanting to know if you're packing it on horseback, what extra gear are you gonna carry, Brendan?
Yeah, so on a horseback hunt, generally it's the exact same gear you're gonna take, only it's gonna be like a base camp style, obviously where you tie up the horses or take care of them at night. For a horseback hunt, I generally would take a smaller pack, more food, a few more comfort items, but and again, if you're talking the sheep hunt, that doesn't mean that's where you're based out of. I mean, if you see a big ram and he's in a spot and you got to hike over to him and you end up staying out or having to camp out, you want the same type of system that you have on a backpack hunt. I mean, you don't want to take a bunch of extra heavy stuff just because. I mean, it all performs the same. I generally like ultralight horseback hunting. I have some buddies that do it, that everything is ultralight, like they're going backpacking, only they have a horse with them. That just means they can carry a lot of extra food. And some of the more creature comforts, like I think they'll carry a bigger sleeping pad and stuff like that. But I take every hunt. I'm trying to pare everything down to as light as I can possibly get that will function for what I'm doing. So I would go into that looking the same. You just a smaller pack on a horse is definitely better than a bigger pack. I mean, if I'm riding a horse a lot, the Icon Pro 3200 is what I ride horses on.
I mean, would you possibly maybe take an extra pair of socks or something like that? Like just having maybe another pair of underwear or something like that, Brendan? Or would you just still run your exact same? Comforts.
Yeah, you got a few extra creature comforts when you're on a horse, but people tend to overpack when you tell them like, "Oh, we're going horseback." I mean, really, the food's the big one you can take, and depending on the kind of stock they got, you may want to grab a set of spurs.
Okay, Brendan, I've got the last question here from a KUIU customer. Which down coat / pant would be best choice for packability, sitting, and cold weather? I've looked at other brands and seems like real bulky and noisy. So which down coat and pant would be the best choice for packability, sitting, and cold weather?
I guess if I'm stationary in really cold weather, I'd say the Super Down Pro jacket and pant, and it's got a quieter face fabric than most packable down jackets. And again, if something is really bulky and noisy, it's probably built with it boils down to the quality of the down and the fabric, and it's probably built with either synthetic or poor quality down. But yeah, I mean, I'd say the Super Down Pro jacket pant, classic knit.
I really like the Super Down Pro pant and jacket. I also like on the pants in a couple of those areas, the material, obviously around the knees and stuff, it seems a little bit more durable in a couple of those spots. And I know at the '6 ranch in November when it got cold and snow and what have you, the Super Down Pro pant and jacket is just money. I just love those pieces.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I have on me all the time. I mean, again, if it's really like on a 10-day backpack sheep hunt where we're carrying everything on our back and you're just cutting ounces on everything, then I go to the Ultra, and in the early season. But if there's a chance to get really cold, it's pretty easy to recover your body temperature in those pieces, and especially if you're doing really a ton of glassing in the wind and cold weather, it's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Brendan, I really appreciate you taking time. I know how important it is for you guys at KUIU to get these customer questions answered, and I'm looking forward to you and I doing future Q&As. I appreciate you taking your time out of the busy schedule to cover this and give us some great answers and great insight into what's going on at KUIU.
No, that was fun, and we'll do it again in a couple weeks. And again, I would ask obviously we love interacting with the customers. It's one of the foundations of our brand, and the more specific they can get the questions, the better off. It's not. It actually helps me to answer the questions. It helps everything we do. If you can, the more specific, the better. So glad to do it, and keeps everything sharp. So I appreciate it, Jay.
Right on, buddy. Well, God bless you, and look forward to a couple weeks. We'll get a bunch more questions and pound through them. And until then, buddy, I'll catch you later.
All right. Thanks, Jay. We'll talk to you soon.